I decided to do another episode. This again is trying to be timeless, trying to be evergreen, but not. Every once in a while, I want to step back and look, and so this will be more meaningful if you're listening to it today or tomorrow this week. But it's kind of a recap what I learned at the National. Got back last night as I'm recording this, and got some feedback, some specific feedback that I wanted to share with you about the episodes that have been released. It's rare to go to an event that has every one of the sponsors was there. So I had some conversations about the podcast, what they liked. They're pretty kind to not say what they didn't like, but I'm trying to read between the lines. I mentioned to several of them that, non-specific praise or non-specific criticism is not very helpful. So, constructive praise, constructive criticism. Here's what I like. Not that, hey, that was great or that was terrible, but, here's what I think, I'd like to see more of or what would be improvements. So, got some great feedback, and I'll share some of that with you. I may not give attribution for who said what, but again, I've got some great listeners. I've said we don't have quantity yet, but we have quality, and I'm delighted to have some of the outstanding people listening and giving me feedback. And if I'm doing this for a while, I've got 250 episodes a year. So if you don't like a few of them, that's okay. I want you to really enjoy a bunch of them. And that doesn't have to be all of them. Since they're 15 minutes, you can look at it and say, that sounds interesting, or it doesn't. Again, you can go to BeckettInsights.podbean.com. That's PODBEAN, my podcast hosting service that I pay each month. So I've got a lot of episodes to deal with. If you go on iTunes or Apple, any of the other Overcast, Downcast, those kinds of things, Stitcher, should be findable on all those with my name and Sports Card Insights. Again, great sponsors. As I said, they gave me some feedback. Again, I'm not just preaching to the sponsors, but I appreciate the sponsors. They're some entities, companies, and individuals that I want to have as guests anyway, and so that's part of them sponsoring, is that I can have conversations with them, and they're all reputable and have a lot going for them and interesting stories to tell in their own right. But I met with all of them. I guess I've already gone over that, but Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication, they were busy. ComC as well, very busy. Burbank Sports Cards, Ryan and Rob Veras roaming the show, really working hard. Mike Stadium Sports Cards. Mike was more off-site next door, having meetings and breakfasts and things. And again, working it hard. His first national. Heritage had a huge booth, outstanding. They just get great stuff. And Huggins and Scott was up close to the front, and they had a lot of stuff for their current auction, which I already reviewed a few of my personal highlights. So sponsors were good. Okay, feedback on some of these issues or episodes we've had. The first episode, the Why episode, that really is the most listened to episode. It explains hopefully why I don't really want to do a podcast or a book. I just want to speak in the microphone by myself and with friends, 15 minutes a day. The why, it makes sense, and I've gotten some good feedback on that. So hopefully that helps you understand why I'm doing this, why I'm kind of coming out of retirement and kind of semi-retired. Episode number 1 then was how I got started, my first card. That's actually the second most, but it's been out the longest, and we'll see over time. I'm not really, I am a numbers guy, but I think that if I have less listeners who are really interested, that's okay. So people are trying to figure out what's going on here. No surprise, the Rich Klein interview, it's my episode 002. Rich is just a fabulous guest and a great friend. So it's no surprise that Rich is perhaps the star of that show and every other show he's on. But we've worked together a lot, and we enjoy chatting about the hobby. We do it even when there's not a microphone around. So, and he's a great connector as well. So he's kind of, among other things for ComC, he's kind of an ambassador at large when he's at the National, roaming around, and kind of a goodwill ambassador. The episode 3, what I try to call it a top 10, it was 10 things I liked and 10 things I was curious about, because I had at the Heritage Sports Auction, those, the auction's over. Unfortunately, and I explained to Chris Ivy, I rushed it in to get it in to give them a little bit of coverage, but it didn't have enough time. On the other hand, I hope the listeners thought, I'm going to bid on that, or hey, at least I know they've got some great stuff, or maybe I'll be a consignor at some point. 004, episode 4, the Then and Now on the National Sports Collectors Convention. That just was a fun episode. And again, wanted to get that out that first week to make sure we had beat the drum a little bit for what turned out to be a fabulous national. Issue 5, the Roberto Clemente. I haven't gotten a lot of feedback on that. I think my friends know that he was my favorite player, and so for me to honor the memory of Roberto with a look at some of his cards, especially some of the tougher ones, was just a way I wanted to start. Incidentally, we've done 3 or 4 of these player profiles now, and each one has been different. So if the Clemente was a little bit more of digging through the OPG and noting his tougher cards. The Tom Brady, a couple issues later, was just a different approach of looking at more then and now of his prices 12, 15 years ago and what they are now, and how he's, if not the greatest of all time on the field, perhaps the greatest of all time in terms of card values. He's just done great. And then we did a Tom Seaver that, again, was just, a very different format as well. So, again, picking up, let's do these as a group. The episode 6 was Mike and Jerry Hirsch, our tribute issue. Mike and Jerry, both, as I said, gone too soon. Rich and I knew them well, and got a chance to give Etta Hirsch, Mike's widow, and Jerry's widow, and Mike's mom, and give her a hug, and tell her we're sorry for her loss. And she was there helping out. She's been a huge part of the National as well. And then Mike Burkus got to say hi to Shar, his widow, and again, he just one of a kind guy. And Bruce Painter as well. Benita was there. It was. It's got to be tough, but grief is a process, and hopefully it's shared with friends in a setting where there's a lot of sympathy and empathy and encouragement for remembering some of the great memories of those guys who are gone too soon, but were really missed. Episode 8 was the 89 Score Football. Rich and I just decided to do some set reviews. We did some of them together that have been recorded. But because we did 89 Score and football and 89 Upper Deck Baseball, I want to make sure we're having some level of coverage. Probably baseball will be number 1, but then football, basketball, even hockey will, maybe even NASCAR, golf, we'll do a little bit of everything, but it'll probably be proportional. But the set reviews, you can see each one of them is a little bit different. The box reviews as well. I did get some boxes from Panini. Thank you very much. I thought, well, I'm just going to go through this and see if I can give an audio description. Again, the people that are doing the box reviews on video, it's far superior. So I'm thinking, well, what can I do that's different that still would be an encouragement to people to consider those products? And it's interesting. Of the 4 products that I got, 2 of them had not been, there were no price guides. And I thought, well, let's put those 2 together, because if they haven't been out at all, there's no price guide. There's just interesting to open the box, to be one of the early openers of the box and just see what I've got and what I can share in terms of how people might receive that set. And again, it was fun. I love opening. I love cards. So I love opening packs. I love going through boxes of cards, and the more eclectic and the more complicated, the better. I'm stunned by the fact that when you open these boxes, there are so many, nowadays, it's just a complication factor of you've got to recognize, if it's serial numbered, you get some idea of that, but if it's a color variation or some other insert, you don't know if that's one of the tougher. I guess you can look at the pack. Sometimes those odds are on the packs, but it's you've really got to be into it. So, and again, the other 2 products that they sent me that I reviewed had been out a month or 2, and so I could look at some of the pricing and availability, and perhaps do some more of that. We'll see. Some of the feedback I got, I think, is that some of these box reviews might be more fun with another person. So I think I'll try that format and see. The episode 13 was an origin story, and I talked about some of the card flipping games, not collection flipping or buy low and sell high, but just actually manipulatively, physically flipping the cards, which again it just doesn't give me nightmares, but that's just what kids do in the day. So I shared some things, and that's actually been more listened to than I thought it would be. But again, it's pretty unique coverage. I'll do a sequel if there's enough interest of anybody wanting to share some of the games they did. I tried to present that they were sort of games of skill, but I'm not so sure some of them were anything more than pretty much luck. And then the other issue was shield bidding, which again I want to deal with in a positive manner. Shield biddings have been around forever, but that actually has gotten a lot of listening as well. Again, it's just my take on it. If we have to do a second episode dealing with that, again, I'm still going to deal with it in a positive manner. It's something to be aware of. It is illegal. Don't do it. But it's occasionally done, and if it's done frequently, I think you're going to get caught. And the reason to not do wrong things is not just because you might get caught. It's just wrong. There's plenty of ways to make a living in this industry without doing illegal activities. I don't know if I mentioned the interview of me by Rich Klein. That actually also got more listenership than I thought. And as I said, I think that when Rich, I'm going to have other versions of that, of people interviewing me, and it's not to puff me up, it's more to draw out stories and questions that I really hadn't thought about. If it gets too redundant, and I don't want to go to square one and tell my origin story to each person, but if they've listened to what's gone before, as Rich had, you can say, well, here's something I'm interested in or something. And so I've done that with a couple others. And it's an opportunity for me to be kind of put on the spot, but not in a way that's hopefully enjoyable for you, the listener, and enjoyable for me too. I don't have to think about what planning the episode. I could just say, hey, well, it was Rich in this case, and again, he's going to ask some things that I just hadn't thought about. So again, I'm always enjoying with Rich, and I can tell you I've done some other guest interviews that you will enjoy in the coming days and weeks as well. So I'm not going to batch release them. I'm going to let them out one a day, and I have noticed that I don't put out an issue on the weekend. And so listenership drops off. Well, have fun with your family or at the show on the weekend. But during the week, you can count on an episode here for as long as you're listening and I'm having fun. So again, thanks for your interest. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. And again, tell your friends. It's Dr. James Beckett Sports Card Insights. Check out episodes you think you might like. Thanks again. See you soon.